A little bit more on Tim Walz, Kamala's pick, and I think she's made a bad decision. I really do, and I think it's going to hurt her, not help her, because it shows the ticket is going further left than it was already with her on it. And he's looking really bad. He's going to have to correct his record. He's been lying with stolen valor, saying his rank was higher than it is, and that he fought in combat, which he never did. This is really bad. It's not even a partisan issue. So that is everywhere, and it's been confirmed by the Minnesota National Guard, which he served. Second of all, he also has made Minnesota a sanctuary state, giving illegal immigrants taxpayer-funded health care, taxpayer-funded college tuition, and driver licenses. He says that this country owes a debt of gratitude to illegals. And he also has his wife, who he's responsible for the not stopping the city of Minneapolis burning to the ground with St. George Floyd, blessed be his name, riots. Double blessed be his name. A year after the Minneapolis, he allowed the police precinct to burn to the ground. He allowed the police to be defunded in Minneapolis, and he actually supported defunding the police publicly and openly as his platform on the governor, said it publicly. The crime under his governorship in Minneapolis skyrocketed 30%. Literally under his watch as the governor, crime shot up 30%, and the Minneapolis Police Department lost 40% of its police force under his tenure. Do you know that the radical leftist, remember the mayor of Minneapolis at the time of the St. George Floyd, blessed be his name, riots? Do you remember Mayor Jacob Frey, the white super liberal leftist? He literally attacked the governor, Tim Walz, Kamala's VP pick. He attacked him for not protecting the city and bringing in the National Guard sooner. He literally lambasted him. And then a year later, when Fox News went back, none of these black businesses has been helped. There was a black business owner, a black woman who I played the audio, was stunning, like a year later or whatever it was. And she said that Black Lives Matter they were at some parking lot getting interviewed. Her hairdressing place was burned to the ground. She paid for her daughter's college tuition. She paid for her car. She had her own business. She didn't, I don't know if she had insurance or insurance didn't cover it. And she said the first time she went out for this thing at a parking lot, the media came and Black Lives Matter came. And then after that, she never heard from any politicians, never had anybody in the media care about her, and she's been gone. She said her neighbor is a white lady who had a Black Lives Matter sign up in her yard, and she's black, and her business burned to the ground on those St. George Floyd, blessed be his name, riots, and she doesn't have one in her side. So she literally lost everything. She has nothing left to herself. She was an independent, strong black woman who burned her business burned to the ground, and Black Lives Matter and Tim Walz and Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota did nothing for her. His legacy is 30% high crime increase, high crime, and 40% decrease the Minneapolis police. And he supported openly and vocally defunding the police. Now, last but not least, his wife literally loved the St. George Floyd, blessed be his name, riots so much she loved the smell of it. She left her windows open and just smelled it all night long, and she loved it. She told the media. Here it is in her own words. And then I have a little movie clip right after her that is very complimentary to what it kind of adds on to what she said. Listen to this closely.
I would say those first days, when there were riots, I could smell the burning tires. And that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
This woman loved the smell of burning tires.
Son, nothing else in the world smells like that. I love the the smell of napalm in the morning. Smell! You know that gasoline smell? The whole hill. Smells like victory.
She loves the smell of burning tires in the morning. Isn't that crazy? That's insane. That's a governor's wife. So there you go. The Babylon Bee, the comedy website, said this. Tim Wall, they have comedy headline news. Tim Walz backs out of VP nomination after learning VPs sometimes have to deploy to dangerous places overseas. He's too afraid to go overseas as a National Guardsman. So so that's it. How likely do you think she is to dump him? I don't think she's going to dump him. She's not going to dump him. She's like Joe Biden in this. She will not change. And I think that's why it's one of the many reasons why this woman's going to go down. She's going to have a spectacular descendants in the last month or two of her campaign. I really do. And how much harder now could he be making it for Kamala to win? Oh, I forgot to share this with you, too, real fast. Our number, we have 3 lines open, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. NBC News, actually, one of their dude who reads the tea leaves, actually was saying today on their analysis on NBC News website that he does not do anything for her at all in the blue states. Nothing whatsoever. And it's very interesting to me about that. They did the analysis, they looked at the numbers, and here's what they found out too. When Joe Biden won the margin of victory in Tim Walz's last election, Joe Biden won by a wider margin than he did. Joe Biden did better in the rural white counties of Minnesota than he did that won for him, for Democrat, for state of Minnesota. So the white, blue-collar folks of Minnesota went for Biden at a much higher rate, a considerably higher rate, I should say, is a better way of saying it, than he did, according to NBC News in their analysis today. So they said he's not going to have a net gain based on what he's done. Kamala's positions, before we go to your call: abolishing ICE, decriminalizing illegal alien crossings, defunding the police, mandatory gun buybacks, confiscations for guns, banning fracking, banning offshore drilling, ending private health insurance for all, and free health care for all, including illegals, mass amnesty for illegals, ending the death penalty, abolishing prisons, ending cash bail, child gender reassignment surgery, and hormone replacement therapy. Trey in Duncanville, you are on WBAP. Hi.
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my call. Listen, I think this is a wonderful pick for us. Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he thinks like she does.
Yes.
You just went down a whole laundry list. So, I mean, she's in cahoots with him. This is wonderful. And one thing you got to remember, this is a Hamas caucus of the Democratic Party.
It is.
So this is wonderful for them. Now, for you and me and normal people, no.
Well, I think it's wonderful for us that if we're supporting Trump over her, I think it's wonderful for us.
Oh, yes. I agree with you, but I'm saying but her ideas and his ideas are not wonderful for us.
Yes.
But they just show us who they really are.
Yes.
So
and
I think it's great. I think it's wonderful.
I think that's why the Jewish population of New York State has now supports Trump by 1 point over Harris, which is stunning, I think, to most anybody. I mean, it's stunning. It was a big story in Fox News yesterday when it came out, and I think that's also where you see the power of the Jewish vote. In fact, the Jewish member of the Five, I can't remember her name, but she's a liberal Democrat. The token liberal, if you will, on the Five on Fox News. She said today about stuff with the Jewish vote and about throwing Cori Bush out of the squad and dethroning her and Jamal Bowman. She said, "Don't mess with us." And I agree. When you threaten the existence of every Jew in the world by your policies and supporting Hamas and being anti-Jewish, you're going to get taken out of your political office by the Jewish folks. And I love that they did that, and I wouldn't mess with them either. And that's why I'm thinking this is going to be really bad, because I think they're going to lose that, and they're going to lose moderates over this. That's what I think.
Well, I have a new nickname for her and her running mate. Call her Giggles and call him Mr. Potato Head.
I like calling him Tampon Tim. I think that's so funny. It was trending on Twitter yesterday.
Well, I just thought that was funny, too. But
I do. I think it's pretty good. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. 800-288-WBAP. Coming up next, you're welcome to continue on this, but also Kamala is supporting equity, and she literally defines it, unfortunately for everyone else. If you work hard, it won't make a darn difference. If you're the smartest person in the job in the industry, it won't make a difference compared to people who are late or lazy. They'll get the same results. And you'll hear her say that in her own words next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.
He abandoned us, you know. I mean, what the hell kind of leader does that? I mean, he just, as soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung his hat up and quit.
So you try to get this message out. The Minnesota's largest newspaper checks it out, says it's 100% true, but yet refuses to print.
When I hung the phone up, I said, what the hell is this, North Korea? I was like, well, for Pete's sake, if this guy quit, and if I say I'm not going to do it, I mean, what the hell kind of leadership is that? If a company would say that we're going to deploy to Iraq or somewhere and you're going to be gone for whatever amount of time, and then the foreman just says, no, I'm not going. I mean, what does that say to the 500 people that work in that factory? The state of Minnesota came out after 2018, after this was exposed, and they said, well, he can say that he served as a command sergeant major, but he can't say he's a retired one because he's not.
It's more on Tim Wells' stolen valor. Quite interesting. I also wanted to get into what happened with, and he's in big trouble with that. He's going to have to admit that he never went to combat. He lied. He'll probably say something like, I misspoke, although he said it for years, including on his website as governor and apparently his own website, I guess. But also, his rank is not what he says it is. So that's not cool at all. That's a apolitical issue, really. But I wanted to talk about Kamala, too, and what she says about equity, because we need to know what she will do as president. And what's breathtaking is that she does give us the definition of equity. And it's very scary, and I think it would be for any American. Because could you imagine if your country no longer allows your hard work, your being on time, you know, maybe it's a single mother who sacrifices so much and works so hard and trying to advance, and this other guy who's a scoffer and a sloth and shows up late and doesn't respect anything. Can you imagine him getting the same results that you get? What does that do? It disincentivizes everything. And apparently this is literally the what Marxism says it is. What does it say? What's the Marxist saying? It's to each. How does it go? From here it is. From each according to his ability. From each according to his ability. To each according to his needs. What it means is no matter how well you do, you're going to get the same thing to what your needs are to what this guy sitting next to you gets, even though he works twice as hard at you and never shows up late. Equity. And Kamala says it herself. And I want you to listen to this because we're going to analyze this in a minute. And here's Kamala in her own words.
It has to be about a goal of saying everybody should end up in the same place. And since we didn't start in the same place, some folks might need more. Equitable distribution. Giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests often everybody should get the same thing. Well, that often assumes everybody started out in the same place, as opposed to equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place.
Do you want that? Do you want that? Do you want everybody to end up in the same place? Is that what you want? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you believe everybody should arrive at the same place in their careers, even though they may have worked less and not be as talented as others? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Can you imagine what it would be like at your job, in the military, at colleges, in sports where everybody ends up in the same place. What does that mean? It means nobody wins. So do you believe everybody should arrive at the same place in their careers, even though they may have worked less and not be as talented as others? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Is this what you want for yourself, your child, your country, your workplace, your government? No matter how little you work, you arrive at the same place as others? Maybe, maybe you belong, we're all made to be different things. I'm made to be a talk show host. There's just no question. I'm being very serious. I don't know why I went like a nut job and worked my off and made so little and moved so many different times over the whole country all the time because I had this drive. It was insane. I don't know how it began. It was put in me. And I would not be doing it this many years into it. 25 years or whatever, 30 years doing such to, 8 years to get to where I wanted to be and then finally getting where I wanted to be. Now 25 years there, something like that. I don't know. And not knowing that, why or whatever. And it's just, that's all I did. And I've been doing it now for so long. And then you get mature and you realize that this is a calling. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not a cop or a firefighter or a, whatever, but it's something you either have or you don't have. And I think it's the same thing for police officers. That's a calling. And that's more likely to be called a calling. I don't even want to call what I do calling, but I'm just saying it's a calling to be a cop. It's a calling to be a somebody who serves. And anyways, but if you work just as hard as somebody else, I'm sorry, if you work less than somebody else, if you're not on time. So I see this with some people. We've had some people I've seen in workplaces and heard about that show up late, that don't work hard, that don't want to do the assignments, that complain and attack people, and then they expect the same treatment. They expect to be given the same things and get the same privileges that others do. I don't want equity for my children, for our colleges, for our high schools, for our grade schools. Can you imagine equity in sports? Nobody will win an award. Nobody will win anything. All right, we're going to get into that coming up next. I want to hear from you. Do you believe everyone should arrive at the same place in their careers, even though they may have worked less and not be as talented as others? Tori in Fort Worth, you're coming up next straight out of the box. Plus your call, 4 lines open, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.
So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests often everybody should get the same thing. Well, that often assumes everybody started out in the same place, as opposed to equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place. And if you then understand not everybody started out in the same place, you understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place, right?
I don't want everybody to end up in the same place, do you? I don't want everybody to end up in the same place. Can you imagine? I'll get to it in a minute, but let's go to Tori, who's called in at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. By the way, I'm asking the question, do you believe everyone should arrive at the same place in their careers, even though they may have worked less and not be as talented as others? Do you want people that are airline pilots to be in the same thing? Do you want, can you imagine sports being like that? Nobody would win. Everybody gets a medal. And anyways, let's go to Tori in Fort Worth, who's called in at 800-288-WBAP. Chime in right now. 4 lines open. Hi, Tori. You're on WBAP. Hi.
Hi, how are you? I'm
very
in
good.
college. I graduated with my bachelor's and my master's. My bachelor's is in journalism. And,
well, congratulations.
Yeah, so I listen to your show a lot.
Well, that's good. Thank you.
Usually, every day, just because I like to hear the other side of things. And honestly, I feel like this is what America needs to stand for. This is giving everybody hope for an American dream. And with my background in social work, I believe that humanity needs to come back into politics, even though whatever this was created on was not really thinking about any type of race or like anything involved it's been and nobody has really acknowledged that like white privilege really does exist in our society. Like some people they were born into money, and there are some people that were born into poverty, and so that's like out of their control, but they still should deserve a right to happiness, a right to a happy life and getting the achievements and everything else that anybody else could.
Okay, so it's good that you listen. You say that as a journalism major. Do you want to work in journalism?
I might, but right now I'm thinking more advocacy.
Well, I think that's exactly where you belong, because you said the other side of things, and that's not journalism, that's advocacy, and that's the problem with many journalists today. They think they're actually advocates, they're not journalists. Like, did you catch that interview with President Trump at the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists, the other day? Kamala blew it off. Kamala blew it off. She refused to even show up. Trump took it. He went in and she, for 52 seconds, she attacked him, and she said something about, she attacked him in one thing and said, which is true. It's not her job to say opinion things are true. She needs to say, we call it, critics say, da-da-da. She said, the journalists today, many of them, not all, but many of them, report and put in their opinion in there. And it's not their job to ever give their opinion. And the other side of things can't be shown exclusively. If you're going to call yourself a journalist, both sides have to be shown, with the listener, the viewer deciding, just the facts. That make sense?
That's true. But did you see in Trump's interview where he didn't really answer the questions? He kind of skates around questions that they directly ask.
Well, that's what Kamala does, and that's what Kamala does. That's why she won't even do any interviews. Can you imagine announcing for president and 17 days go by, you don't do any interviews with any of the press or do any press conferences? Isn't that shocking?
But did you see how much money she raised?
See, that's what you're doing. You're an advocate. You're a Democrat. You're a Democrat advocate. You're not an independent journalist, and that's okay. Hold on, Tori, that's fine. I love that you want to do advocacy, and I love that you want to do social work, and I love that you're concerned about humanity, because that is a calling, and I think that's fine. So I'm just saying, to me, you're coming across as somebody who wants to advocate, and that's great. But journalists should not be advocates. Agreed?
Agreed. That's why I changed my major.
I think it's awesome. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I'm not a journalist. I was in television news for 6-8 months out of college and didn't like it, and I went right into this job. Where I want to give my opinion based on fact, and I'm there to inform and entertain. And interact, which we're doing very much. Now, let's get to the. I don't want to get into the back and forth on the white privilege. I think that's a totally specious claim. I mean, I came from my grandma and grandpa came from Poland. They worked in a bottle cap factory. Is that white privilege?
No, but there's a good percentage.
They were on an assembly line.
But there's a good percentage of Americans that are in that race that are born into. Well,
I gently
families that are born into poverty.
I gently say to you, do you know what the most poverty?
And that's why we have to have programs that essentially help and assist those people to come up to the level that these people were able to. Even some people can't even work on an assembly line because their parents didn't even have a birth certificate for them or something. And
you want to advocate? You want to advocate for illegal immigrants before citizens? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. It has to be a system that works better.
You want to give? I'm hearing you say that illegal immigrants should be. You want to help them. You want to help illegals to take jobs from Americans. Is that what you're saying?
I believe that it's a lot of people that are here that they just want to write a fair chance at the American dream.
Okay, but it's not an American dream if you paid $10,000 for somebody to smuggle you into the country. That's not a dream. That's paying for coming in this country illegally
for a right to freedom.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know what the poorest counties are in America? Do you know what the racial makeup?
Tarrant County is one of them.
No, absolutely not. Do you know that what the most impoverished counties in America are? Are they predominantly black or white?
Probably white.
Yeah, they are. So it sounds to me, is that white privilege? Like J.D. Vance, for example, you know who he is as a vice presidential candidate. He grew up in one of those most impoverished communities. And mom went through 5 or 6 divorces, married a lot of alcoholics who abused her and beat her in front of him, and grew up with nothing. And he worked his way up to go to Harvard and go to law school at Harvard and made a big success of himself. He's the American dream. He's not white privilege. He came from a drug-addicted, drug-addled hillbilly county. It sold in a best-selling book before he was ever political, and a movie with Glenn Close, the A-lister movie star starring in it. Have you ever seen it? It's on Netflix. Tori, have you seen that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Isn't that stunning? Didn't you cry? That's his life. So is that white privilege too?
I mean, there's going to be cases that don't fall under that.
Yeah. So what do you want? You want to punish every white person then? Do you want to punish a poor white person and say that that's white privilege when they ain't got a pot to piss in? So you see what I'm saying? Like my dad was a cop. My dad's parents was a nurse. My dad's parents were 2 bottle cap factory workers at White Cap. I played when I was a little kid on the ground in Grandma's floor there with bottle caps. That's all that and some Army toys. And they retired in their small house in Chicago. And my dad was a cop in Chicago. And by the way, my mother's mom, her dad was a blue-collar guy who drunk himself to death. And mom took her life when my mom was 19. She didn't have a pot to piss in. So that's the family I came from. Are my mom and dad coming from white privilege?
Not everybody, but it's helping those people too. That's what equity means. Equity. Kamala is saying.
Kamala said equity means. I'm going to read her. She says
everybody's going to end up where they need to be.
So if a bum.
That means employee. Yes, a bum needs a job.
Okay,
that means Kamala gonna want to make sure that he can get a job too.
What if he doesn't? What if he wants to show up late all the time, and you're working next to him, and you show up on time and work hard? Are you going to want to continue to work hard, and this bum's getting the same pay and the same promotion you had?
You got to worry about yourself in life. Everybody got to worry about themselves, and she's trying to initiate the fact that the government gonna do their part to make sure you get the extra.
Who pays for that? Who pays for that?
Us.
You know how much that costs?
We're supposed to.
Do you know how much that costs? No, we're not. That's not in the Constitution. The founders of our country didn't put that in our Constitution. Show me hold on.
Appreciate me even.
Show me. Hold on one second. Show me. Yes, he would. Donald Trump. Oh my gosh. Do you know that? Do you know what the percentage of the black? Do you know what the percentage of the black vote in this country is for Donald Trump right now? At this very moment.
A joke.
It's stunning. Do you know what it is?
Who is it?
Are you laughing? Take a guess at what Donald Trump's support in the black vote is right now.
He did.
Ma'am, take a guess.
I know how much. I know he gave a lot of money.
No. What do you think he's paying black men across the country and black women? Just why won't you say what your guess is, what the black support of Donald Trump is in this country right now? It's pretty high.
I don't know what it is, but
take a guess. Take a guess.
It's probably a lot.
What's wrong with them? Why don't they want equity? What are they seeing him? Are they deranged? Should they be disowned or something? Are they stupid?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
They probably just want a stimulus again.
They just want what?
They probably want a stimulus again.
A stimulus?
Yeah.
Well, Joe and Kamala, do you know how much they spent in the 4 years so far?
No.
$5.3 trillion. Do you know who pays for all that?
The government got it.
Do you know who pays for that? Money. Do you know who pays for that?
Us. That's fine.
Yeah. Did you pay for your college?
Yeah.
Do you want to pay for? I was at the Hyatt in downtown when I had to stay.
And I would donate my taxes to make sure other people can graduate too.
Okay, listen to this. When I was over at the Hyatt staying there as a guest not too long ago this summer, the young lady says they're going to give me free college. I said, well, look at that guy over there. And he was the guy disassembling the buffet. I said, do you think he should pay for your college? And then I said, you can hear the guy in the back doing the dishes. I said, the guy in the back these guys didn't go to college. I said, that guy doing the dishes, should he pay for your college? And she said, you know what, you're really making me think. And how about the plumber who has a loan for his, $20,000 of tools and his $40,000 truck? He doesn't get any loans. He hasn't paid off, and he still has to pay it. Do you think that plumber should pay for other people's college? Do you know that half of everybody right now that's graduating in a brand new survey today shocked me? Half of them think they're going to get their college paid off by Kamala. Isn't that crazy? That's
good.
Okay, so are you a Marxist? Last question. We got to go. Are you a Marxist?
I heard of that. I don't think so.
Well, let me read this and see if you agree with it, because this is what Kamala is saying, and this is what you're saying. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. That's literally what she's saying. She's a Marxist, and you're supporting this, which means you're a Marxist. I think it was a good journalism project would be to study, just go 5 minutes, just read about Marxism, what it is, and what their slogan is, and you're going to be like, holy crap. These countries that have done it have been destroyed. You're asking for everybody to pay for everything. You want everybody to end up in the same place, and that's the antithesis of what has made us the most prosperous, wealthy country in the world. The world is your oyster. It's for you.
Think that everybody should be on their different levels?
Well, hold on a second, honey. Tori, the world is your oyster. You are in the greatest country in the world, and you know that neither. That's why 15 million illegals have flooded our country in 3.5 years under Joe and Kamala. 2 million of them who we don't even know who they are. They don't want the cops catching them because they're wanted. They're terrorists. They're criminals. Did you know about the little girl in Houston, 12-year-old girl who was kidnapped by 2 illegals that just came over last year and raped her for 2 hours and then strangled her to death and left her Jocelyn Nungare? Did you hear about the mom in Maryland who was on a jog? She has 5 kids. She was strangled to death and beaten after being raped by an illegal. Did you hear about the girl in Georgia who was in college, like your age? She was doing a walk, Lake and Riley, and an illegal that Joe and Kamala let in a year ago murdered her. He beat her in the head. Her head was disfigured by a rock that he beat her in the head with.
Well, I'm just saying that you can't blame them for all them.
Well, they let them all in. It's their policies.
They're telling them, come in here, come here,
Listen,
here and do this.
God bless you. God bless you. And I want you to know in a gentle way, you're a Marxist. Look up what it is, and you're a socialist. Look up what it is, and that's going to destroy this country. And I hope we're in a point that people realize that. And I do wish you the best in your endeavors. The world is your oyster. You should not be given anything. Good luck. All right, Wes in Colorado, you're next. Your reactions, your thought on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. I appreciate that last caller is wild. And if you want to comment on that too, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Trump's poll that I just saw from CNN a couple months ago, but 22% of black support. 22%. And in fact, CNN said this would be by far the best performance for a Republican candidate among black voters in a generation, 2 generations, probably since 1960. Think of that, 64 years. The highest number in black American polling for Trump of any Republican in 64 years. That's stunning. So it's just kind of sad. I was thinking of, there's an amazing woman, and I'll pull up some audio of her. She was at the Trump rally. She went to an HBCU in Atlanta. Huge mega Trump fan. Trump made a last second appearance at a fast food place in McDonald's, not McDonald's, I think actually it was in Atlanta, and she was there, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm your biggest fan," and she was hugging him and everything, and it was full of African American students. It was right by an HBCU, a couple of them I think in Atlanta, but and a lot of them loved him, and She spoke at his rally the other day in Atlanta, and he brought up on stage. She's incredible. She's an activist. She's a warrior. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, let's go to Wes in Colorado. Wes, you're on WBAP. What do you got?
Hey, Chris, I was just telling your screener, I feel like maybe you should change your question and break it down into layman's terms. Because when you made your statement, I mean, it makes it, like it's a utopia.
Oh, by the way, everybody should hear. I apologize. I should have set the thing real quickly, brother. I'm sorry. This is my fault. Do you believe Kamala? Kamala gave her definition of equity over and over again over the years, and it's very bad. She wants everybody to arrive in the same place. Do you believe everybody should arrive at the same place in their careers, even though they may have worked less and not be as talented as others? Shockingly, the young lady who recently graduated college said, yes, I want equity. It's very sad. Wes, go ahead.
Well, and what I was kind of getting at with the lady that just called. Well, you should ask her is when she gets paid on Friday, if she just go next door, if her neighbor doesn't work, if she'd give half her check to her neighbor.
Right.
Me personally, I grew up in Texas. I joined the Marine Corps to start a foundation on my life.
Thank you for your service. We got about 20 seconds. Go.
Thank you. Anyways, I've been living in Colorado for 30 years. And I moved up here so I had a better life for me. And, I don't think no Thanksgivings in Texas, no Christmas. And people want me to give them their money so they can stay where they're at in their little happy nest.
Ain't nobody giving, I ain't giving nobody nothing. You know what? Actually, I do give a lot from my church. And I tithe 10%, and that's before taxes. And you should, if you are a member, it should be that. And that's the church helps people. And that's how I do it, and that's how we should do it. There are, areas where the government does help and should help, and I support many of those. But this is different. This is taking money. This is confiscatory policy, taking money, like you're saying, from her and giving it to her neighbor who's a bum. Or as my uncle used to say from Poland, S-bum. He's the peep bum. Christopher, he's the peep bum. I was like, it's Uncle Eddie. God bless him. He hucked a loogie with his window. He thought it was down, but it wasn't. On the window, my dad was in the car. It's one of the funniest stories. He pulled Uncle Eddie over when he was a cop. And he's like, you've been da-da-da. He didn't recognize him right away. And he's like, oh! And he's like, ah!